Bitcoin has a problem, and it's the price bias problem, which is that right now, if you go to a brokerage account, if you go to Coinbase or any other place where you look at the financial markets and everything like that, and the crypto markets, you're going to look at Bitcoin price $95,000 as I make this video, and it reached like $108,000, which was its all-time high earlier this year. And you're gonna think to yourself like, okay, wow, this asset is so expensive. And even though I never really had this problem, whenever I got into Bitcoin, maybe even right now, I don't have this problem of Bitcoin being too expensive, but I can acknowledge that this truly is a problem that a lot of people have, and it's kind of like a mental block for people to get into Bitcoin, to get their first step into Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin has a lot of great qualities, it has a lot of great features that could lead you to get into Bitcoin. But the first and main feature that most people want and expect out of Bitcoin is the whole number go up thing. So I get into Bitcoin, like we all got into Bitcoin at some point, because we thought that, okay, if I put some money into it, it will go up in value, it will double, it will whatever. So really, when any person, whether you're like a professional finance person or just a regular investor or someone who just wants to has some additional income that they want to invest in the markets, the first thing they want to look at is that, okay, I mean, if I put this money here, will it go up in value? Will it grow with time? So this is really the most important thing. And when they look at Bitcoin and they see that the price is like nearly $100,000, which I believe, like if you look at any other asset class anywhere, whether it was like an index or is it a stock or is it a crypto, there is no asset that has this price. Like I don't see it. I don't think there's any asset that has like a six-figure price, which is what Bitcoin is right now. It's almost at six figures, and it was at six figures. So it's really a mental hurdle for a lot of people to really think of Bitcoin as an asset that is still young and it could give them profits, or they can see it growing as much as some other assets that look smaller in terms of price. I can acknowledge this is a problem, and this is a bias that a lot of people have. And this is why whenever I encounter any person who is kind of reluctant to get into Bitcoin, I try to tell them to set like achievable goals, to have some realistic goals. Because most people, when they want to get into Bitcoin, they will look at the price and say, oh, but I don't have $95,000 to buy a whole coin. It will take forever for me to stack a whole coin, or maybe I will never be able to stack a whole coin. But the way we need to address this issue with people is that tell them that, yeah, maybe having a whole coin is a really great achievement. And there's this guy on YouTube right now, if you haven't checked him already, he's like a guy who is documenting his entire journey from day zero to getting to a whole coin. He has like a video almost every day discussing what he's doing and what kind of amount he's buying. So he has this goal of 1 Bitcoin. Now, maybe it's not really a realistic goal for most people. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it is nonetheless a very good goal to have. But if you want to be motivated to buy more coins, you should set realistic goals. And for me, and for a lot of people right now on the YouTube space and the social media space, we started this movement, which is the 0.21 Bitcoin. So I made a couple of videos talking about why 0.21 Bitcoin is a significant amount. You can check them here and in the description of this video, where I made a comparison between having 0.21 Bitcoin in comparison to the total monetary supply of the Bitcoin network, and having this amount, which is like $20,000 right now, invested in something else, such as like the real estate. For example, if you if you have $20,000 and you want to invest that number in the real estate, in some real estate, it will get you like a small fraction of the whole real estate of a specific town, or which is like even a smaller fraction of the entire real estate of the United States, or it's an even smaller fraction of the entire real estate of the whole world. So basically, when you invest $20,000 into Bitcoin, you're getting a big portion of the monetary network that is Bitcoin in comparison to the portion that you will get from a real estate somewhere in a specific town. Like even $20,000 will likely buy you like a very small shop in some remote village, basically. So it's really nothing. But when you put $20,000 in the Bitcoin monetary network, you're getting 0.21 coins out of 21 million Bitcoin. So this is really the mental framework you have to build around Bitcoin. You shouldn't look at it as, okay, one Bitcoin is $95,000, therefore it's expensive. You should look at what this one Bitcoin is in comparison to the total network that is the Bitcoin network, or the total supply of that network. That's why you should set realistic goals for yourselves. Now you might say that 0.21 Bitcoin is not a lot, which could be the case. Then that's great. Start with 0.21 Bitcoin, and I'm pretty sure you will want more. You will want to stack more. So if you can get to 0.21 Bitcoin, your next target will be the next 0.21 Bitcoin, and then you will have a half a coin. And if you try to increase your income, your disposable income, with time, you can get to a whole coin, which is pretty significant, like having 1 out of 21 million coins. But the key thing here is to have a realistic goal and to follow it, because this would motivate you to really buy and keep at it and keep stacking sats and to hodl for as long as possible. In the previous videos, I basically made the comparison between what is 0.121 Bitcoin for the Bitcoin network and what is like $20,000 or whatever the price of 0.21 Bitcoin is or was in comparison to the USD monetary network. And I also made the comparison with the real estate, which I just made right now. But let's also look at it from the S&P 500 perspective. If we assume that the S&P 500 will go up at 10% year on year, which is slightly higher than its current average, which is like 8 or 9%. So if, let's say for the next 10 years, it will go up at 10%, that means if you put $20,000 into the S&P 500 today, and you sit on it for 10 years at 10% compounded return, you will have around $52,000 from your original investment, which would be in the next 10 years. But if you put that money, which is 0.21 Bitcoin or $20,000 in Bitcoin right now, and we assume that the Bitcoin return will slash in half. Let's say it's like 50%. For the last 10 years, it was like 100% yearly return. Let's say it's like 50%. You will have like around $1 million in the next 10 years. Let's just be more conservative, and let's say it's like 20%, right? You will still have like $120,000, which was double of what you would have if you had invested it in the S&P 500. Now you might say that, yeah, but how do you know that? How do you know that the price of Bitcoin will go up? My assumption is that if the S&P 500 is going to go up at 10%, keep going up at 10% on average every year, Bitcoin will overperform that. Now, if the S&P 500 is not going to go up at 10% every year, then it doesn't really matter, because because Bitcoin will always outperform the S&P 500, because it's like a more risky investment that has more potential of growth. So whatever you do, whichever way you calculate it, Bitcoin will most likely outperform the S&P 500. It might not do 20% per year, but if Bitcoin did not do it 20% per year, that means the S&P 500 will likely not do a 10% a year. It will likely do a 5% per year if Bitcoin is going to do a 10% per year. But whichever way you calculate it, it's probably a better investment on the long run. And some certain years where you have a bear market, it's true that probably the S&P 500 will crash less than Bitcoin would crash. But then again, these are very short time frames. But if we're going to talk about like a 10-year time frame, a long term one, I would assume that Bitcoin will do better. Again, this is not financial advice, but I'm just trying to show you that this whole $100,000 or $95,000 price bias should not really be a hurdle for you to start investing in Bitcoin. So that's really it for this video. I hope it was kind of useful. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you have any comments, any feedback, love to hear it. Are you planning to get to 0.21 Bitcoin let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.